Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on digitalization in manufacturing, SME success stories and funding opportunities. We are glad to have you all here today with us. I'm Deborah Goll from the European Digital SME Alliance, which is the largest association of European SMEs active in the digital sector. And Digital SME has organized this webinar together with the Horizon 2020 project KYKLOS4.0, which is a project that aims to develop an innovative circular manufacturing ecosystem based on technologies such as cyber physical systems and AI, among others. And KYKLOS has currently a funding opportunity for SMEs developing solutions in the manufacturing sector, and it will be presented today as well. So today we will first showcase some success stories from SMEs providing solutions for the digitalization of manufacturing processes. And we have with us two SME speakers that will present their own story and tools. And in the second part of this webinar, there will be an info session about the funding opportunity of the project KYKLOS4.0. And we will then open the floor for any question regarding the application procedure to this open call. Let's start now with the first SME success story, which is the story of Italian smart lifts. It's a great success story of the Italian lift sector, which is a traditional manufacturing sector digitalized through standardization. This story was recently mentioned by Commissioner Thierry Breton during an event as a best practice example of digitalization in Europe, and we are glad to have this story presented today by Marco Cogliati, CEO of Tre Engine SAL. Marco Cogliati is also Director of Research, Design and User Experience of the 3A Consortium for the lift sector and Research and Development Manager for New Technologies for the elevator sector, as well as an expert in standardization. So Marco, the floor is yours. We can't wait to hear your story.
Thank you, Deborah. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Marco Cogliati. I'm Italian. I thank European Digital SME Alliance for inviting me to this meeting. I have been working in the elevator sector for 25 years, and in particular, a project elevation system. I have been working for years for Tre Consortium. Tre Consortium is a company that groups 20 small and medium enterprises in Italy. It was founded in 2030 by SMEs active in Italian lift sectors. To the present date, the consortium manages in maintenance more than 35,000 lifts. The Tre Consortium was born from the common need of several companies working in the same sector with the shared vision to evolve and expand. In previous years, many of companies which are now part of the consortium had close cooperation with each other. However, the pressure.
Marco, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we can just see your screen is small, so it's not in the widescreen mode.
Okay, sorry. I don't.
I think the middle button there on top switches between one and the other.
Video.
The top.
I have. Okay. This. Okay. It's okay now.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. In previous, the consortium strongly believes that digitalization in our sector can be of great help to all members of the consortium. In recent years, I have dedicated myself to the study and the research of IoT systems that can be applied to our reality. The digital scenario in the elevator sector in recent years is changing as in other sectors, and from years now the latest generation system exchange data outwards. In a predominantly analog world, a few new technologies are making their way into the industry and bringing it into the digital age. Elevators communicate with the manufacturers by providing data related to the operation of the plant, and this can process information to be and make the plant more efficient. We talk about preventive and predictive maintenance and being to face realities that exploit artificial intelligence algorithms. One of the difficulties in the development of this project is that the elevator has a very extensive series of variants. For example, manufacturer, model, type, compliance with the different regulation, different technologies, etc. So not a single product, but a series of different objects to apply a system that can guarantee a connection and exchange data. Another difficulty encountered in the development of the project is that the data that was recorded or exchanged by the elevators was not saved or in generally erased after a certain time determined. You can see that this is a fundamental fact when we talk about IoT and of artificial intelligence. Since October 2019, as NFESME, European Federation for Elevator Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, and SBS, Small Business Standard Expert, I participate in the Smart M2M Technical Committee of ETSI, and then I had the opportunity to participate in the drafting of the ETSI Smart Lift Technical Report and in technical specification. In my opinion, standardization is a very important element for the development of these technologies. Having a regulatory standard used by all industries players, which return the reading of the data from different plants in a unique way. Personally, as the TRE consortium, we have developed and are testing an IoT system based on the 1M2M platform, which aims to store plant data and process it. The smart lift are machines that have internally or around them a device that can communicate. They generally have a control panel equipped with a communication system, and then they can have a number of third-party systems, for example, heat sensors, vibration sensor, water or seismic sensor that collect and exchanging data. The IoT elevator system provides that the elevator can communicate directly with the technician, sending real-time data of the state of operation or failure. And then can I receive and exchange information when then user himself then receive calls from smartphone, etc. These types of approach have developed a lot with the advent of COVID-19. Through a gateway, it also collects information for third-party system, and one of the sensory side that's then sent to the company and the IoT platform. The IoT platform stores, processes, and returns data from all connected elevators. In addition, the most important thing is that it can connect, if desired, and exchange data with adjacent systems. then create interoperability between multiple parties, between multiple sectors, and if desired, around the world. The final project includes the implementation of the model that are developed by artificial intelligence and that can benefit the company by making the plant more reliable, preventing failures or improving the organization of technicians who can make service calls already having information about the hypothetical fault or spare parts to be replaced. This is my experience. Sorry, but I said to the organizer I have to leave this meeting in a few minutes for another engagement. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco, for this very interesting presentation about the digitalization of the Italian smart lift sectors, and that's a great story about cooperation and seeing where the mutual benefits are. Okay, so let's then continue with the second presentation of today, which is about AI in the manufacturing sector. We have here Ruth Kearney, which is CEO and commercial director and co-founder at Nightingale HQ. She will present GoSmarter, which is Nightingale's tool to help manufacturers to improve operations. Nightingale is a company based in the UK and is a member of Digital SME Joint Focus Group on Artificial Intelligence, together with the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. Ruth Kearney also set up the first venture capital in residence program in Europe and developed Ireland's first accredited returns program in the Trinity College of Dublin. So, Ruth, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Deborah. Can you see my slides okay?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So we're a small company, but we're specializing in the area of AI and data science, and we're a small team based out of Ireland and the UK. We work with manufacturers at all levels of the AI maturity curve, so whether that's back office automation and getting off spreadsheets, right up to defect detection. We work across the board with clients across Europe. But what we're particularly interested in is what I want to present here today and share some of our experience and use cases. So we help manufacturers to improve operations through GoSmarter. We've developed GoSmarter, which is basically a bunch of no-code AI-powered tools that really anybody across the organization can deploy and automate manual tasks so that they can get really more productive and high-value work done quickly. Okay. So just to give a little bit of context, and I think this is a really striking quote from Chris Booz, who runs a knowledge automation company in Germany. In the next 2 to 3 years, we'll see that AI will be able to run any rules-based or systems-based process. And this means that it's really potentially the only defensive measure that we have. And European manufacturers and businesses at large know this as well and feel this. Those that are adopting AI are winning. We know that those are adopting digital are seeing higher levels of growth and margins, and those that are not will fall behind. Also, there's a major skills gap as well in the skills that are needed to adopt AI and digital technologies, and we are seeing this as well with our within our own work. So there are many ways, of course, to adopt AI from the factory floor to the back office. We've worked on lots of different projects, but what we're most interested in is the easy deployment of no-code tools across functions especially. And that's where real change and digital transformation from a grassroots level can happen. Implementation is hard. So faced with lots of challenges, overburdened IT staff, not enough data, not enough skills, and then questions around running your own cloud environment as well. but we make it easy. And what I want to share with you today is GoSmarter. We feel like it's a game changer for manufacturing. No code tools that are supported by an IT team, but delivered across the business. And what they do is just look at the low hanging automation tasks or manual tasks that could quickly be automated so that we can essentially free up time for teams. So we have a live MVP. We have 100 businesses already registered on this. You can go to app.nightingalehq.ai and you will see a bunch of tools there that are set up and ready to go. All you need to do is deploy. So to go through a couple of easy steps in order to deploy them in your own environment. The range of tools really looks at FAQ chatbots, which are very well known to support excellent customer service, but also can be deployed internally to support frequently asked questions across departments, for example, onboarding new staff in HR or in finance, or to help out IT departments as well. We have a supplier management tool which automates, and a huge amount of time is wasted on onboarding new suppliers. And this tool allows the automation of that using image and text recognition in order to automate the data that's coming in. So very easy to use tools that are easy to deploy and no code. And this is what GoSmarter is, and this is what we believe is quite disruptive as well for manufacturers. Sorry. Unfortunate. Oh, here we go. Excuse me. So what I'm going to share with you is a number of our own use cases of customers deploying these tools. So we have a customer in who is a defense manufacturer supplier. They're a very high-end, high technology makers of microwave technology with multiple applications across manufacturing and medical. They have excellence in what they do and the products that they produce. And what they want to do is match this excellence up in the back office as well. So they want to create efficiencies across their operations. They have inefficiencies in from repetitive manual tasks. So we deployed 2 simple tools involving the automation and digitalization of their supplier onboarding, okay, as I mentioned before, and also a very small tool around quote and email invoice processing as well. So these were very easy, and we started with working with the operations manager, and then we worked across a different function with the IT team, and then we moved over and worked with the supplier, our supply chain management team as well. And this cross-function ability to use digital tools across function is really important to them, and from a change and AI readiness point of view, it's critically important as well. So in the end, the result was to free up staff time and to improve efficiencies, faster onboarding of suppliers. That's the name of the game, saving a huge amount of time. Here's another customer in the logistics industry. Again, all manufacturers and logistic companies are unique, but a lot of them face the same operational problems. So they were unable to grow without a massive headcount increase. And so they wanted to use the tools to, again, allow them to scale. They wanted it to be quick, they wanted it to be affordable, and again what they deployed was real-time data tools. They also deployed tools around using AI in their sales process, so they get automated bookings through their sales API, and they saved a significant amount of time, over 50%, and a cost saving as well on their real-time analytics. I think more importantly, their customers were very, very happy with the increased visibility and transparency of what they're doing, and also their staff were extremely satisfied to take away the manual burden of what they do. A final use case that we have really relates around skills. So this was with a global pharma manufacturer. and they wanted to learn more about AI, specifically around data AI strategy and how it should align with their own business objectives. So they took our AI 360 in a day workshop, and the result was this development of an AI strategy so that they could really infuse AI throughout their organization. So very quickly, just to run through some back detail in this, AI is really about effective change, and automation is significantly accelerated also due to COVID as well. And these are the areas that we look at when company comes to us first. Where are the pain points, and how do we get to that first initial tool deployment or to work on a pilot project, and how do we scale it? In the case of FLS, you'll see here this is an example. What we had to do was look at where we wanted to get them off spreadsheets using SAS, and also how did we scale this, incorporating more data for them in the long term as well. This is our own model of change for AI that we use with customers and organizations who come to us and want to start that journey or accelerate that journey. And what we believe is that we've developed GoSmarter, which essentially enables automation of processes that were really recently considered too expensive to automate, but the potential is huge. So we've surrounded it by value add, again, going back to skills, those who want to accelerate the tool deployment and want to infuse automation throughout the organization and within different departments, take our in-a-day workshops. And also we're surrounded ourselves by a specialist solution provider for more complex projects and tool deployment. To finish up, just the benefits to manufacturer. This is very, relatively speaking, low risk path to business optimization. It's easy. Anybody can deploy the tools, reduces your costs. And what we've seen, which is very exciting, is newly automated processes drive automation in other areas. So we're really looking to pick up all of those quick fixes that AI and automation tools can do across the organization. Our vision is to scale GoSmarter and keep adding loads of tools that are useful to manufacturers to improve their operations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth, for this very interesting presentation. And we still have time for questions. So, and I see in the question box a question from Kiel Bengtson. Kiel, if you want, we can open your mic so you can ask your question directly to Ruth.
Okay, can you hear me, Ruth?
Yes, I can, yes.
Okay, so my question is really related to, you know, how you can reuse existing data in the manufacturing companies, like CAD data, like PLM data, simulation data, test data. How do you connect your AI tools to standards like ISO 10033 or the STEP standard, where you have a lot of this data already available, and what you really would like to do is to do the correlation between your, let's say, your finite element models to the test data and using AI algorithms to define the patterns. Do you have any such connections today?
Well, at the moment, we're focused on the light automation operations. Okay, so everything from invoicing, invoice processing to FAQ chatbots. And as they get more complex, like defect detection, the tools themselves are living in the cloud environment of the client, of the customer, the manufacturer. So I believe that that would solve those problems. So there is integration there, there's discussion there around their own standardizations, but effectively the tools and the data live in their own environment.
Okay, thank you.
And I would add, just to add to that, we do the initial setup, we do the initial support around the configuration, but then it is the ownership and the tools belong to that manufacturer. So we don't own anything, we don't use that data, we set them up, we deploy them and support them to use the tools longer term.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other question? If so, please ask in the question box. Let's give one more minute. Okay, I see nothing. I think it was a very clear presentation about GoSmarter. Thank you again,
Thank
Ruth.
you. My pleasure.
And,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Then we can move on with the second part of this webinar, which is about Horizon 2020 project KYKLOS4.0 and its funding opportunity, which is currently open until the end of June. We will now have Samuel and Jason coming, yes, and we will start with a short overview on the project given by Jason Mansell from Technalia. He is the KYKLOS product coordinator. So Jason, please go ahead.
Samuel, will you put the slides? Shall I do it?
Took the liberty of, okay, just one, oh, sorry, wrong one. Just give me a second. This here. So I think
okay.
if I go full screen.
Okay, just so basically, as Deborah said, I will just make a quick overview of the project, so at least you are able to see the overall scope, and then if there are any issues when you're preparing the proposal for the open call, we can just discuss any other issues. So if we go to the next one, next slide. Basically, what we are KYKLOS is focusing on delivering an advanced and ecological manufacturing ecosystem that is basically focusing on rapid configuration, the configurable manufacturing process, and focusing on providing individualized consumer preference. We have to focus on those two. These are details of the project. I mean, you can read them after 4 years project. In the last 2 years, third year of the project, we will make the real pilots and validation of both the components in the KYKLOS solution, as well as what potentially the first projects in the open call, the first open call will be validated. Next slide, I will not go into detail here. I think it makes no sense. 29 partners, you can look at it afterwards. So basically, the rationale behind all this project is basically what the manufacturing process is basically consumes high amounts of energy and natural resources. As we all know, these are two key issues right now: the scarce of resources that we are having less, and also the energy prices are increasing continuously. So these are the two key issues in which manufacturing has to evolve and adapt to. So we need to optimize the manufacturing processes so that this industry can ensure sustainability of the processes and the products we are producing. Next slide. So KYKLOS will provide technology ecosystem based on different, let's say, digital solutions, tools, services that will enable basically for the manufacturing processes in the different manufacturing phases to increase energy efficiency, decrease the use of raw materials. We are focusing on second use of parts, machines, and materials. And we should focus on the consumer centricity. We should not develop for everyone, but focus on specific on-demand manufacturing to ensure we develop what we need in the specific point using the exact materials we need, not to, let's say, have increasing our waste of products or materials or whatever. And these tools, techniques, services we will be providing, the idea is that we meet the operational excellence, mass customization and personalization of products, and this needs to be done increasing efficiency, but also and reducing waste, but also increasing the business of the companies and keeping the business going. So we have to find the balance among the sustainability as well as the business of the companies. Next slide. So basically, this image tries to summarize a little bit the key points in which we are linked to the circularity and sustainability. So we are focusing a lot in what is the reconfiguration, reassembly, and also redesign of the products. So this, as you can imagine, implies a lot of, let's say, simulation, 3D simulation of products, algorithms in order to ensure that the materials that are going to be used and materials and amount of materials to be used in these products is the correct, and how this impacts in the overall sustainability of the process and the use of resources and energy. And that's why within the overall solution, we will have a life cycle assessment process in which will be the brain that will be linking all the production phase, all the data delivered and of material use and energy in different parts of the production to this life cycle assessment, in which will be directly outputting for the system exactly the sustainability key indicators that will be telling if the company is going in the right direction, correct direction in order to be sustainable. But at the same time, we will be producing artificial intelligence and deep learning algorithms that will be capable of tuning this specific process to ensure that you can see behaviors that you could go to, and in order to improve energy efficiency or the use of resources efficiency. At the same time, let me see what else I can say right now. Okay, I would say that we can move on, so I can show in the next slide. I will show you just some specific. Okay, I will not go into the objectives. You can read this afterwards. Next slide. I mean, I have a short time, so I'd rather go to the key points. So this is highlighting some of the models within the KYKLOS ecosystem that we are going to provide. As the one I was mentioning before was the rapid prototyping model, which will enable the 3D modeling of a specific product you want to produce with all the characterization of materials, materials characteristics, material use, strengths, and so forth. That will this rapid prototyping model will enable to actually give you hints of what these products should be looking into to be more sustainable. Maybe you have to use less stress. You have to design it another way in order to use less materials, or it will also recommend other materials you could use instead of the ones you were planning to use. For example, we have a real-time simulation module that will be simulating in real time the behavior of the production line, and will be identifying, thanks to the deep learning toolkit and algorithms that we are going to develop. Basically, it will be foreseeing some patterns of behavior or using of different characteristics that will enable to the production manager to identify, okay, this is something we have to analyze, and we will recommend to him, and he will be able to fine-tune the production. I don't know if I'm going out of time. We are also providing a reference certification scheme that basically will be a certification scheme that would enable to trace a product from the initial of the production to the end of the production life cycle, in which we'll be able to certify that once that product is finalized and we want to use it in our own production or sell it to another product, we'll have a full certified based on blockchain technology that will certify that the product is in whatever state it is and has comply with some qualification or standardization needs to be able to be used in new productions. I think I'm running out of time, right? Yeah. Next slide. I think we can. So basically, all these technologies, and as well as the products coming from the open course, will be able to be piloted in these 7 scenarios. 4 scenarios are more focused in what is smart manufacturing as such, which we will, of course, we will analyze sustainability also in those scenarios. But and then we have 3 scenarios more focused on circular manufacturing, which will validate the overall, let's say, all the cycle from production and back to the new redesign of the product and back to the new production of the systems or products themselves. I cannot go into them right now. Yeah, I mean, you could after the telco, you can go into them, and if you have any issues, I guess we could highlight offline any issues you may need. And I'm open to help anyone that is interested in submitting something to validate if it's okay or not. So you can go. We can talk later about this. I will not go into this dissemination strategy. We can move on. And I think that's all. I mean, I only had 5 minutes and I go over it. So, but anyway, as Samuel will let you know afterwards, I mean, I'm open to talking with anyone to see if the project idea they have is really fit within the overall open call. Samuel, sorry, go ahead.
No problem at all. Let me just give me a second to see if I can use a different. 1 second. Okay. I just wanted to be able to see you and look you in the face because I'm using 2 screens and I want to hopefully no, okay, it's not a good solution. So you'll allow me to look to the left while I present. So apologies for that. Good morning, everyone. As Jason has well done and presented the overview of what KYKLOS is and has already mentioned, we are running an open call, which, as Deborah also mentioned correctly, ends at the end of the month. So we are just 21 days until the end of the open call, 3 weeks. But I think we have sufficient time for all of our attendees here today, if they're interested, to form their consortium and to submit an innovative idea to our open call. So what I'm going to address in today's webinar is the open call as a whole, mainly focusing on the objectives, the target domains, the timeline for implementation from a submission until the actual implementation, should your project be awarded. What is the funding scheme, how much money is available, how you can participate, or what you actually have to submit in the application form, what the evaluation process is, and then what actually happens in the implementation should we get to that part. So broadly, the objectives of the open call, what this open call is looking for is projects submitted by consortia of up to 3 entities led by an SME. And the project should focus on the development of an innovative solution, at least TRL 5. So we're not looking for basic prototypes. We're looking for something already sufficiently mature, because of course the timeline that we're going to show is quite small as well. So things shouldn't be from scratch. And aligned with KYKLOS project, we're looking for solutions that help improve the digital manufacturing processes. A key thing to keep in mind is that these solutions are also expected to be validated, demonstrated, so we're looking to see things actually work. And for that reason, one of the partners has to be an industrial entity, a place where you can take that technology, put it working and show that whatever you've developed, actually has, a contribution and improves the digital manufacturing processes. So an SME partner to kick off, an SME leader, an industrial partner, and the technology developed, TRL5 at least, demonstrated in the pilot location. So digital manufacturing is the overall, let's say, domain that we're addressing, but you also have to focus, your solution should focus on 1 or more subdomains, which I will present in the following slides. And a key aspect here related to our project and what we're looking for is that the solution that is proposed, eventually implemented, should also contribute to, or should have circular economy at its base. So, reduction of waste, improving processes, more energy efficiency, along those lines, which Jason has already presented. So as I mentioned before, we have digital manufacturing as our key domain, and then anything related to any solution that has embedded within its core artificial intelligence, augmented reality, focus on big data, data management, circular manufacturing, cyber physical systems. I'm not going to list them all because they're here. These are the main 9 ideas. Others related can be also included. They just, of course, in the proposal should be well validated, justified, why this is important, why it's related to digital manufacturing. Okay, so at least one of these subdomains should be addressed. In terms of timeline, so we opened up our open call, pardon the redundancy, back in April. So we're now 2 months and 9 days into the open call, which ends at the end of June. So the call closes at 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time. Once this first stage comes to an end, then we'll go into the evaluation stage, which I will present in a few slides. After which the top 7 projects that are evaluated are then invited to, let's say, a contract signature phase, and they implement their project over a course of 6 months. So there's a first planning stage, the actual implementation validation stage, and then a focus on commercializing the solution that you submit to the open call. More details in a couple of slides. So the funding scheme of the open call is we will run 2 open calls. The first one going on right now. We have 1 million euros available, which we expect to fund a minimum of 7 projects. So considering that, depending on how many applications are submitted, the quality of the applications, any excess budget that is not consumed, we will also make available in the second open call. So which is tentatively scheduled for June 2022. So in terms of how much money you'll be able to receive, a consortium as a whole can receive up to 150,000 euros. This is in the case of 3 entities, but there is a maximum limit of 60,000 euros per entity, per partner of the consortium. Okay, so that means that if one partner has 60, another can have 60, the remaining partner can only have 30. So you have to divide, should you be a consortium of 3 partners, to divide that 150,000 as you see fit to achieve the objectives that you propose in your proposal, your application. Also important to know is that we're looking for innovative ideas. Things are not being done yet. Maybe an idea you have in the back of your mind. So anything that is already being funded by another project, by another funding scheme, will not be funded through our open call. So we don't accept the case of double funding. Also important to note is that should you be already developing a project, not necessarily related to what you might submit here, if it's being funded through any financial support program under the umbrella of the Smart Anything Everywhere and the I4MS initiatives, there is, let's say, a ceiling of how much money you can receive, which is 100,000 euros. So, for example, if your entity A and you're already receiving, for example, 60,000 euros from a program of one of these 2 initiatives, then you would only be eligible to receive 40,000 euros through our open call, which the 60 plus 40 is the 100,000 maximum limit. So in summary, we have 1 million euros for 7 projects, 150,000 euros for up to 3 partners, or 60,000 for 2, and that's how the funding works. How to participate. So, okay, you're thinking maybe you have an interesting idea, you have a couple of partners that you might be interested in working with. What's the next step? So, okay, of course, establish your consortium of 2 to 3 entities. Again, important, the leader must be an SME. The second partner must be at least an industrial entity, not necessarily an SME. It can have, if you consider the definition of an SME of having up to 250 employees, and the funding question as well, it doesn't have to be an SME. A third partner can exist, which can also must be an SME and contribute either to the technological validation, supporting the dissemination, the impact of your project. All partners must be established in the EU in an EU member state or Horizon 2020 associated country. Partners can be from the same country or from outside. So if you're a partner If you're an entity based in France, you can work with someone in Spain or in Germany, or Netherlands. There is no limitation in terms of locations, except for the EU member states or associated countries. Whatever whatever positive relationship you have, take advantage of that when preparing your proposal. Any entity interested in submitting cannot be linked to the KYKLOS partners in any way, because that would constitute a conflict of interest. So, if you're a spin-off of one of our partners, that's not acceptable. We're looking for full independency of the KYKLOS consortium. So once you have your consortium established, your idea is already bubbling in your head, then the submission process is done through F6S, where basically you have an online form which you have to fill out with information about the consortium, who the partners are, some contact information, as well as information about the actual application itself. As we'll see in a few slides, there is, let's say, a online form which you have to fill out with some information, and there are a couple of annexes, one being the technical annex that has to be filled out. So if you're maybe familiar with the Horizon 2020 projects, this would be the equivalent to your Part B, which has a couple of sections that has to be detailed, where you'll focus on what the concept is, what the impact of your idea is, the consortium, and then the budget aspect of your idea. With regard to this technical proposal, keep in mind that there are a limit in terms of number of pages. And also important is that English is the official language for all submissions, the communications that it's done within the consortium. A question that is important in terms of eligible costs, so human resources, so how the actual effort that you as a consortium and the people involved put into the project to implement it. Other direct costs, so there might be materials they have to get to carry your project. If you have any, if your project requires the acquisition of or the use of some kind of equipment, hardware, then depreciation costs are eligible in principle, subcontracting as well, only a small part, and indirect costs as well, to account for any other day-to-day expenses that are required. Also important to know that each applicant can submit up to 2 ideas. So maybe it's the case that you have 2 amazing ideas. We hope so. You can submit both to the open call, but only one is going to be funded, should that be the case. And then keep in mind that if any idea that you have now is not accepted in our first open call, you will be eligible to submit your idea to the second open call, assuming that the framework that we defined for that second open call is aligned with the idea that you have submitted right now. Again, so this is a slide that we had for our first webinar, and I think it's valid now, but the fact that we are 3 weeks away from submission, we encourage everyone to start the process as soon as possible. You can already start your application without submitting it, but make the most of the 3 weeks that you have, not waiting until the last minute to submit, because any issues that are not related to the actual platform are not going to be a justification for not being able to have submitted your application on time. So that's something important to keep in mind. Maybe you're looking for, okay, so you have an idea, maybe you need 1 or 2 partners are missing. Our colleagues here, Digital SME, have a very good platform up and running where if you're looking for a partner, you can, or if you're interested in participating and maybe trying to see if there is someone else looking for the same thing, please sign up for the for a KYKLOS partnering platform on Digital SME's website, and just register, indicate some information about your company, what kind of technologies you provide, and what kind of partner you're looking for, and then eventually you might be able to match with someone and then be able to submit your idea. Okay, so moving on to the application form itself, as I mentioned. So basically on the left, you see sort of the entry page of the application form. You'll be able to see on top like a connect with the KYKLOS project. That's where you'll do the actual submission process. That's where the submission process starts. Once you click on that, you'll see the window to the right, which is the application form itself. You'll see several fields that you'll have to fill in. Right now it's blocked because only once you start the process can you actually see all of this detail, but you'll have to provide information about the title, an acronym, select the domains that you're submitting your application under, details on the different partners, a summary of the different sections that are part of the technical form, and so forth. So there's quite a few questions that you have to fill out, and annexes that you have to submit as well, which you'll see in a few slides. So this is the proposal template, the technical template that let's say is one of the key aspects to your application, where you have to detail in the first section what the concept is of your idea, how you foresee it to be implemented. So basically, you have this idea, you have an idea, you have a technology that you want to implement, what you're going to do with the industrial partner that is involved in the consortium, how the validation process is going to work. So basically, how you're going to make use of the 3-4 months of the implementation phase. You might be able to, we request that you also break down this all of this work into different activities, provide a description, what kind of outputs are associated to each of the activities you implement. Then we also require information on the impact. So the European Commission is very keen on that all solutions, whether it be a big project like KYKLOS or sub-projects like the one that you're applying to, they all have to have some kind of value, a tangible value impact for the European Commission, for Europe as a whole. So it has to be clear what kind of impact that the solution that you're developing has. Also, how you see a potential commercialization coming out of the solution. A third section is the consortium. Who is going to participate? What kind of competences you have? What is the knowledge? How you complement, how partner A complements partner B. And then finally, the resources and costs, how you're going to spend the 150,000 that you are requesting, and how that is divided into personal costs, travel if required, equipment, etc. Lastly, in terms of application form, keep in mind, and I stress this is important, where there are several annexes that have to be submitted. These are mandatory, or else basically your application is not eligible, which is, first of all, the technical proposal, which you just saw. So, download it, fill it in, upload it in PDF. Then there's an Annex 4, which is a declaration of honor. All partners have to sign this and upload it. An SME declaration form, should you be, in the case you're a leader or the second and third entity, and a consortium declaration of honor, which basically gives power to the consortium leader to represent all partners in, let's say, the communication with KYKLOS and contract signatures and so forth. Important that when you're preparing your application, they review all the information, make sure that everything is there. It is important that the evaluators your application will be evaluated by 2 independent external evaluators. So it is important that you be objective, synthetic, sell your idea as best as possible to them. So how does the evaluation process play out? So this is we've established what we believe is a fully transparent and independent evaluation process. So once the submissions are done on the 30th of June, we will we actually have in parallel right now running a call for evaluators, people with specific knowledge in the different domains that are being addressed by KYKLOS. We're going to get those people on board, and they will be responsible for evaluating all the applications that are submitted. Each application is going to be evaluated by 2 people, and basically they're going to evaluate your application and attribute a score of 0 to 10 to each of the 4 topics that I just mentioned before. So concept and implementation, the impact, the consortium, and the resources. So each of these criteria also has a different weight. So we value more the impact and the concept more than the consortium and the resources, and it's the average weighted score that will, let's say, define your final score of each application. So in terms of the evaluation, just taking a step back, the first thing once all applications are submitted is we do a eligibility check just to make sure that all partners come from a European member state or an associated country. If so, you move on to the next stage. If not, then you receive a rejection letter. We also check, for example, English, that all documentation is there. So unfortunately, if there's one thing that is missing in principle, there might be a reason for non-eligibility there. Should you move on to the external evaluation, you go through the process which I just mentioned. So checking the four criteria that I was just mentioned. The top 7 projects or the top 7 scored projects then are invited to the sub-grant agreement or the contract phase. The others receive a rejection letter. But then again, as I mentioned at the beginning, you will be eligible to participate in the second open call. So this just provides an overview of what the eligibility check consists of. If you're a legal entity, if the leader is an SME, if you've addressed the domains that we're looking for, all annexes being correctly developed, and then the external remote evaluation has these 4 criteria that we've mentioned: concept and implementation, impact, the consortium, resources, and costs. So coming to an end, should your application get to this to the phase of implementation, there is a sub-grant agreement process, which is important, a very particular aspect in the sense that us as a KYKLOS, as a project, we will do, let's say, we will on a case-to-case basis interact with the 7 projects and also work to identify technologies, components, modules, whatever it may be within our project. And that might be interesting, contribute also to the work that you've defined, the work plan that you define as part of your project. So there might be something, Jason in his presentation showed a series of technologies that we're working on. We might see a fit with yours, and then we'll see how that can also support your project as well. Once that is done, once the contract is signing, the first month is dedicated to planning. So basically, you take your application and fine-tune everything. We might provide a bit more guidance. We're looking for this, or you should focus on that. We'll work with you on that. Basically, making sure that the technologies that we've also suggested are aligned, fit within the scope of your project. Associated to each of these 3 steps is a deliverable. So we're looking for a small report saying exactly what you've provided. Based on that, then we'll disperse the part of the total budget that you've received. So in the first phase, you have 30%. In the implementation phase, basically what we're looking for is the actual demonstration of the results of the implementation phase. And we'll work along this process with you, selected partners, maybe those that have provided the technologies. They'll work with you on a daily basis, following up and making sure that things are on track. So there's a full support process from KYKLOS from day 1 until the end, all the way up until the 3rd stage, which is the commercialization and business sustainability. So we want to fund projects that have the potential to be a viable product in the long term. We will try to find maybe partners that can support that viability. We will help you maybe find additional funding opportunities to mature your project even more. So we're there. We'll be invested in supporting that process as well.
Yes.
So
perhaps we can now open the floor to questions, because we are short on time, and I've seen there are a few questions in the chat. Or perhaps I think tips are perhaps still useful, but if you can wrap it up quickly, so we can then go to questions, because I've seen a few questions on the application.
That I don't see any questions. I don't know if it's because maybe only comes up to the moderator. But yeah, I'll wrap up in 30 seconds just to say that we recommend to download all the documentation, fill everything offline, upload it afterwards. Be clear and specific, do the best you can, of course. We're in the last 3 weeks, so time is running out, but sufficient time, we hope, for develop a good proposal, and follow up with the webinars that we have. There's one already developed. We have this one today. And then my last slide is just, well, actually I go to questions and answer. I'll leave the last slide for just as we wrap up. So happy to take any questions that I might be able to answer. Thank you.
So we had Despoina and Deepa having 2 questions. So if we can open the mic and you can ask directly your questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello, this is Despoina. Just a short question about the equipment. If, for example, the industrial partner would like to buy some equipment like a is this cost eligible?
You cut out a bit, but I think I understood the overall idea. Equipment can't be, let's say, any equipment, major equipment shouldn't. Well, let me take a step back. Following, let's say, what is common for Horizon 2020, any equipment that is bought or used normally, the only costs that you can claim are depreciation costs. So basically, considering that you're only using that equipment for a period of 3 to 4 months in the project, you can only, let's say, claim the cost, the value of the use of the equipment over that period of time. So if something costs 5,000 euros and it has a lifespan of X months, you can only, let's say, claim the 250 or the 1,000 euros associated to that period when it's used in the project. You can't simply buy 5 or 6 computers and say that we need this for the project, because that's not eligible under Horizon 2020 rules.
So only during the time of implementation?
Correct.
Okay, and one other question, please.
Yes.
You said that the financial support is for 3 applicants up to 150,000 euros.
Right.
But the funding rate is 70%. So, for example, a proposal could have a total budget of, let's say, 200,000 euros, and for the project, for the KYKLOS, to finance the 70% of this amount. Is this correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So you can define, say that your total budget is 200,000 euros, but if the 70% that you if the 70% corresponds to the 150,000 max, then that's eligible, yes.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for participating and for the questions.
Yes, thank you. The next question is from Manuel Lobati, who will give you the floor.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Well, it's just a basic question related to the work plan form that's in the doc. So I just wonder if the activity list that must be included in the work plan has to follow the let's say approach to be divided between design, implementation, and commercialization, or the activity list should be basically related to the project that we want to implement, and then the 3 phases will, let's say, the activities will be split between the 3 phases when the project will be funded.
Thanks for the question. I would say that the activities should at least, I don't think it's necessary to put in one of the activities as the actual planning process, but it would be important, the implementation, the commercialization, to actually or at least the implementation phase, of course, how what developments you're going to do, how you're going to demonstrate, validate, and then also detailing the activities, at least one activity to show that you're planning on attending an event, you're maybe following up with some kind of potential investor. So already show that you have something in the back of your mind where you hope to get the commercialization strategy up and rolling, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question from Irene Sadeliti is to know, is it possible to submit multiple times the proposal in the portal? But I don't know if you are speaking from the same proposal. Perhaps you can give a short explanation.
Yes, the same proposal. I mean, when I press submit, should I press only once, or I can resubmit and resubmit? Because it's only online, there is not a template, right?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, well, there is one limitation with the platform, which you can submit more, but more than once, but it's not an automatic process on your part. So if for some reason you submit today and you realize that, okay, I should have done this a bit more, you should get in touch with us through the channels that have been listed, and we can, let's say, unblock your proposal, and then you'll be able to resubmit anything that you'd like.
So it's better to submit only once, basically.
If you're waiting until the last minute, I would advise to make sure that the last submission is the best submission. If if it's a couple of days before, then we'll be happy to support. If you made a mistake, if you'd like to update something, if it's not meeting the deadline, because we want to avoid all types of issues with the platform, we'll just get in touch with us, say, this is proposal X, we'd like to resubmit or edit something, and then we'll unblock, and it'll take you a step back, and then you can resubmit your information or your proposal.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Yonut regarding the consortium. Yonut, can you please ask your question? We can't hear you. So the question was, the consortium can be made of an SME leader, a large technology provider, and a large industry entity. So 3 entities. And
yeah, well, the consortium can be made up of 3 entities. I'm not, maybe I can't see the question exactly, or maybe I misunderstood, but keep in mind that the SME, the leader of the consortium, the main entity, has to be an SME, technology developer, integrator, provider. The second entity has to be an industrial entity where the actual technology will be tested, validated, demonstrated. We want to see that the technology that you're working on actually has an industrial, use, let's say. And then there's a third entity, can be an SME that will support, either the commercialization, generating more impact, other technology developments, and so forth.
I don't know if I can be heard right now.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Thank you. My mic was had an issue. All right. So my question was regarding the technology consortium components. We just passed the lower mark for SMEs. Right now we have about 260 employees and a bigger turnover than what qualifies us as SMEs. But we were working on some technologies for industrial sector that are right now in development and are fitting to what KYKLOS is looking for right now. So I was wondering how we can apply for this, but constituting a consortium with another partner of ours that is a SME, and us acting as the technology provider for this solution.
I don't know if I fully understood the question. So you would be acting as
the technology provider, because we're no longer an SME. We would have a partner for this that will be a project leader, and also we'll be having a partner that will be acting as a pilot, an industry pilot for implementing one of our technologies that we developed. So
Well,
this type of consortium will be fitting to apply.
so basically, you would be since the other SME that you're mentioning would be the leader, then that would make you the third partner of the consortium.
Yes.
Because the industrial entity would be the second. In principle, I would say that you would be eligible, but I would have to, I think it would be best if you, get in touch with us. I have my email up there. I'll show it and maybe clarify your question in a bit more detail so that I can provide a more suitable answer to you and not mislead you with an answer right now. Just
right.
to make sure that I understand the full scope of the situation that you have.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have two last questions. The first one is from Stanislav Levarsky. So Stanislav, if you can activate your microphone.
Hello.
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 Can you hear me? Okay. My question is if the output of project or the prototype should be the standalone product, and if that product should be or will be integrated with any KYKLOS technology.
That's a hard thing to say answer at the moment because the specificities of each application. But the output, what we're looking for, one of the outputs, yes, would be what we would like to see being implemented, validated in the industrial setting would be the product that you're mentioning. So that would be something that you have in mind that your solution that you're working on at the moment would be the main output, and actually showing that there is usefulness in an industrial setting.
Yes, I understand, but the question is if it's standalone product or could be like a module of a bigger product. For example, of module of manufacturing execution system, like add-on or something like that.
In principle, I would say yes. I think if Jason is online, I think he has also a good understanding of the scope. I think anything that complements what we're doing is also a valid, let's say, application for KYKLOS.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we have to have two considerations in mind. One is that it could be a final product, but it has to be repeatable, let's say, somewhere else. I mean, you have to be able to provide it as a service or as a product as to other manufacturing companies or industrial settings. Okay. When you say it's integrated within another overall system, I don't know if you're talking about one external from the project, and this is specific for the use of one company, I mean, this is not the idea. But if you are referring to potential integration with other in the KYKLOS, let's say, technology solution we are going to provide as a added service there, this is the key, more important, interesting thing for us, that whatever is done could be some kind offered as a service within the KYKLOS ecosystem, let's say. That would be the major, our more happy ending, let's say, but I mean, it's not the only one. And also, we in the once the project is proposal is accepted, we have 1 month period in which we are going to see how that product of that project could be somehow benefiting of some of the components within the KYKLOS, or how this product could benefit in the overall technology scope we will be providing in KYKLOS.
Okay, maybe I will send email
yes.
to Samuel to explain it. But okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we have the last question from Tugbakara. So we'll open the mic for you. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I'm representing a UK-based company, a consultancy company. I just would like to clarify, after the Brexit, whether UK-based companies are eligible to provide services to consortium partners under this call or not. Thank you.
So you're not actually going to be a partner, but to you're preparing the proposal for them, or?
Yes. Yes.
Well, in principle, what we're looking for in terms of, since you're providing a service to them and we're not funding you directly, what we're looking for is the project itself that is going to be submitted, and there are no limitations for UK applicants, partners in the consortium. So in principle, whatever services agreement you have with the potential applicants that submit a proposal is one thing. With any, there are no limitations in terms of UK-based companies in participating, because as KYKLOS has been funded with funds in which the UK still was a member of the European Union, we don't have any limitation in that sense.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this was the last question, but perhaps Samuel, I don't know if you have written your email address, so as to contact. If anyone has any question following this webinar about the application, yes, feel free to contact us also via the F6S platform.
Yeah, actually, we have any specific questions that you have, so that we integrate everything. We have it centralized. We have an email here, which is opencalls@kyklosproject.eu. Feel free to get in touch with us with any more specific questions that either weren't clear at the moment or anything that comes up in the next couple of weeks. So we'll share. Deborah, I believe, or our moderators will share with the presentation after the webinar. You'll be able to have full access to everything that we've presented today. Okay. I don't know if there are any other questions, or maybe I'll just jump to the last slide, which is just a very illustrative summary of what we have. So first of all, again, thanks everyone for joining today. I hope we've generated a bit more interest in possible applications to our open call. In a nutshell, what we want to highlight is we're offering up to 150,000 equity free, a maximum of 60,000 per applicant. One of the questions that was made is the 70% funding rate. So your project might be worth a bit more, but maximum 150,000 is what we'll make available to you. No additional conditions. A consortium of two to three entities led by an SME. Keep that in mind. An industrial partner is very important. We want to see solutions being validated in a real environment, solutions with impact. We'll fund up to 7 projects, so there's a good chance of being funded, focused on digital manufacturing, and what we're offering is access to our technologies, case-by-case business. We'll interact with you. We'll see how we can support what technologies we have that are aligned with what you're doing, can improve your implementation, and so forth. Business and technical support along the full duration of the project, 6 months. And then visibility and promotion. So it benefits us, it'll benefit you. We're here to make sure that you have the foundations for commercial success, that the product is one step closer to the market. So that being said, that's all for me. Thank you very much for your participation today, and get in touch with us with any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel and Jason, for the explanation about the KYKLOS project and the open call procedure. Thank you everyone for attending. I'm sorry it was a bit longer than expected, but I think it was very important for participants to be able to ask questions about the application. And yes, as Samuel said, if you have other questions regarding your application, don't hesitate to contact us. So I'm wishing you a very nice day, and thank you again for your participation.
Take care.